Namaskaram. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙖𝙩𝙤 and I am in conversation with WV Raman, ex-test player and a coach and currently a commentator, Women's World Cup that is taking place in New Zealand. And we stole a few moments of his time while he was relaxing from his job as a commentator to get this interview. So this is part 3 and I hope you have as much fun listening to this as I had talking with Raman. So let us join Raman now. One question that came to my mind when you're talking about, go play tennis ball. See, if you listen to any interview from Pakistani cricketer, they always talk about this tape ball. They have a ball, tennis ball, and then they tape on it. They put there is some restrictions and rules how they put the tape. I don't remember seeing this in India. Is it because somehow India never caught on? What is it? Because that gives you a little bit more of an interesting spin on things, isn't it?
See, we've had a ball made out of the tube of a bicycle cut into small, sort of bands, and then you would make a ball out of it. So what would happen is it won't be a smooth sphere.
Right.
You would wrap those rubber tapes over one another. You would make a ball, the size of which will be decided by you. It won't be a round, smooth sphere. So when somebody, sort of bowled that at you and it hit the ground, it hit a sort of a uneven ground, it did whatever it pleased and you had to react to it. So there are different variations that you can do because, you're primarily sort of not really been encouraged, or the parents are saying, get lost. We're not going to keep spending money on your ball to play with your friend every day kind of thing. And there's also being creative, that you will develop your creative skills in trying to see what you can do with different things. Yes, but the reason why I always suggested tennis ball was that what happens is that's one, you may not get as badly injured as you would get with a ball.
Yes.
But what also happens is, primarily in cricket, the only thing that creates a little bit of apprehension is playing a ball that's bouncing, that's getting bigger on you. So that is something that you would get when you bat against a tennis ball. So which means when you're young, because psychologically the kids feel they will not get as badly injured with a tennis ball or a rubber ball, and they get to counter the bounce, what happens is they develop skills to play something which comes fast at them, which is short in length, or which can come, right in front of their face. They develop that skills. So that helps them as they go into sort of playing serious cricket and against good fast bowlers, whatever it is. So that's the reason I encourage them playing with the tennis ball. And again, in terms of developing the skills to catch the ball with soft hands, tennis ball is the best, because if your hands are hard, the tennis ball will pop out, which means automatically you will develop a very good technique to catch the ball. So a lot of advantages out of playing a tennis ball, playing with the tennis ball until you're 13, 14. And, to play or hit a tennis ball far, you don't really need a top upmarket bat. Any piece of wood will do. Whereas you can't do that. Batting with a piece of wood, which you sort of, improvised upon from wherever you grabbed something, you sort of sculpted something and chiseled something about, and you can't hit a cricket ball long enough. The thrill factor is not there. The discouragement comes in. And then what happens is there are a lot of boys, a lot of parents who can't afford a proper cricket bat. So various things come into play here.
And so under 15, at what point do they start playing serious cricket, in the sense that, 2 innings or even one-day format, like 50 overs aside? How evolved is it today? I mean, is it just high school games playing each other like St. Bede's or Bishop Cotton, things like that? Or how is it now?
Inter-school cricket has always been a strong part of Indian cricket, which obviously you may not perhaps find in other countries. I'm saying perhaps. I'm not saying you will not. So that being the case, I think that is still going strong. What has also happened now is a lot of academies are springing forth in every part of India. That is a facility that the boys get, which is closer to them to go and play cricket, to go with their friends. That's fine enough. I'm not critical of the sprouting up of the academies. But what is important is that, it's like a lot of schools are there. As parents, you decide which school you send your kids to. So that's what it is. The choices are multifold today. But again, if you see in the socio-economic structure, you see that the open spaces are shrinking today.
Yes, yes.
It's not like what it was those days. You could, call your 4-5 friends and you will suddenly see an open field anywhere and everywhere. You go, pitch some sticks and then play a game of cricket and come back, or pitch anything and develop cricket or whatever sport you wanted to feel like playing. You played and came back in an open field. But today those open spaces are shrinking, which means that somebody has to give you a space to go and play or indulge in sporting activity. Along those lines, all these academies started by people who have played whatever level of cricket they played. I'm not talking about what kind of cricket they played, what level of cricket they played. As far as there's a facility or a space available to go and play, these academies are really beneficial. As to what happens in each academy, what good comes out of it is something for the people to really sort of assess and then seek out the best possible options and go and be a part of that academy and progress in life.
Great. So from under 19 you became a coach for India A. So these are players who are knocking on the doors of representing their country. They kind of know their games. Now, one thing that I have observed, Raman, and you can disagree with me on this or not, players like Munaf Patel, they burst on the scene at 150 clicks, 150 kilometers per hour. And then over the time, whatever the reason, they were barely clocking 130. Another person who could bowl at pace, who slowed down, Irfan Pathan. But today's generation, I see that much more consistency, that once they start at 140, they seem to be there. Why do you think that slowdown happens? And as a coach, is there something that you can tell them, look, if you do this, you will be able to still bowl at the speed that you used to bowl at?
See, that comes down to the individual choice. If a bowler, regardless of him being told time and again, he wants to bowl well within himself, thinking in his mind that he's going to prolong his career by reducing his pace, I think that's a very poor line of thought, because what happens is that the team management would want you to bowl 10 good overs as against 20 ordinary overs by bowling well within yourself. Now that is bowling longer. But the fact is, if you bowl 10 good overs, you might bowl the opponents out. You'll be sitting in the dressing room. The workload is not really that much. But if you're going to bowl well within yourself, and if you're going to bowl 25 overs, that's a lot of workload. You still may not bowl the opponent out. Now, this is something the bowlers have to understand. But your classic case of Munaf Patel, he was told way back in 2005 or 6 in Bangladesh that if he didn't bowl as quick as he could, he had to pack up and leave. He was made to leave as well, from what the stories that go in the grapevine. So you need the coach sometimes to read the riot act and say, do this or else. But that's not the only thing that is the job of a coach. That should be the last resort. Now today the boys are aware. Today the system also allows for rotation of the players without jeopardizing their future. Otherwise, in the past, what used to happen was, if they said rotation, yes, Raman will be replaced by Sri suddenly, would be the flavor of everybody, and Raman will suddenly go into oblivion. Then what happens is, seeing this, Lakshman will say, no, I don't want rotation, boss. I'll play, but I'll not bowl 150, I'll bowl 130, try and prolong my career. That used to be the thing. The entire dynamics has changed, and the way things are looked at is different now than what it was.
I don't know if you remember this. 2015 World Cup was played in Australia, and during the practice matches, somehow Shami wasn't hitting the rhythm. Something was there, something that was missing. And then the first game, he was back at his sharpest, bowling zip. Then it turns out that Wasim Akram saw him and he just told him, "Why are you running the way you are running? You're not running up to the ball." I mean, that's what I remember reading about it. And then Shami gave a very good performance after that. These are all simple things. And as a coach, how much do you think you can have? Because this must have been something like a spot observation that Wasim Akram found and said, "You are not doing this right. That is why everything is wrong."
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm asking you, I guess, is sometimes do these kind of light bulb things go off and then it work right away?
Yeah, primarily there's a lot of talk about man management and all that. Now, see, the problem sometimes is that all these cliches are used without even having a realization of what exactly that particular cliche means. Now, man management is fine, but the point is that it also requires monitoring the deviation from the norm. Now, by that I mean, if she has done a few things in a certain way and succeeded, the coach will quietly monitor as to, is he doing the same things now, so that the success will be sustained. In case she is starting to fail, the coach will monitor as to where are the deviations coming in. Yes, the standard deviations are fine, but if the deviations are really going past the accepted standard deviation, then you'll have to see how far the deviation is happening from the norm. Now that has to be brought to the notice of the player, and the player will suddenly be, oh, this is what was missing. I could sense something was not happening right, and this is perhaps what I'll go give it a try in the next, and then he'll sort that out. So it's a question of pointing out the deviations from the norm to the player, because he knows his game at that level. He succeeded. Now, let's not even live under the impression that these guys who played quite a lot, they don't listen to anybody else. There's that school of thought that prevails also. They say X has got bigger in his head, he's too big for his shoes kind of thing. No, they are even more particular to know what it is the others think that is slightly become different from what they were doing when they were succeeding. Who doesn't want to stay at the top? Tell me. Everybody wants to stay at the top.
Yes.
Now, this is ridiculous, trying to, sort of talk about cricketers, top cricketers, being big-headed or, getting big for their shoes. They don't listen to anybody. That's rubbish. They all would listen to everybody as long as they feel it is something that is relevant to their technical framework or their methodology. Now, if you're an expert in finance, if I come and talk to you about physiotherapy, what will you listen to me? How long will you listen to me? You're going to get bored, or you're going to be, sort of not interested in that because that is not your field of activity. That doesn't tickle your grey cells. So similarly, if I go and talk, to Virat Kohli about how, he can be a good fast bowler, he's not going to give me the time of the day, boss. You should know what you should go and talk to, who you should talk to what.
So, so we've been dealing a lot about the bowling aspects as a coach. Now, walk us through a little bit about batting. Do you go conform to this, the thinking that first start learning to play in the V and then you start playing in the horizontal? Or how do you see that this particular talent has that a little bit extra factor that makes him to adjust quickly and he's able to produce the right shot most of the time? I'm talking about a 10-year-old or 14-year-old, something like that.
I'll have to give out an example here.
Sure.
Way back during my playing days, VVS Laxman had just come out of an under-19 tour in England, wherein he had played with the lower order batsman, or the tail, if I can use that terminology, and he got a big 100. So the following season, he was picked for the South Zone side because they wanted to encourage one youngster. I think this was around 93, 94. So this boy comes, first session of South Zone team. We are going to play against North Zone, I think in Nagpur, the old ground. This boy pads up, goes and plays about four deliveries in the nets. And I tell the manager, this boy, unless he gives up playing cricket tomorrow, he's going to play at least 70 test matches. Now, I'm not a coach then, I'm a captain. So the manager was also from Hyderabad. He asked me, have you seen him bat before ever? I said, no. So he says, what makes you, make such a big statement, such a profound statement? See, 4 balls you've seen. You say he's going to play 70 test matches. I said, I've said what I have to say, forget it. So then he quietly lets me in on the fact that he says he's from my academy. I've seen this boy bat a while. But in as much as you say he's going to do that, I'm happy about it. But, I'm surprised that you come out with a statement just seeing him bat for 4 deliveries. I said, okay, time will tell. Don't worry about that. So it happened. In the meanwhile, he migrated to New Zealand. When Lakshman made his debut, he sent me a message from there saying, 1 down, 69 to go. I said, don't worry, it's a matter of time. So the reason that prompted me to make that statement without, sort of really any fuss was the time that he had. Now, a lot of people say, he has a lot of time. The point is, I would like to give you my explanation of it. When you see a player giving you an impression that he got a lot of time, it only means that he is not moving too soon. The other expression that is used is stay as still as possible till the ball is released. So you will see a lot of players like that, hardly any movement at all. A VVS Laxman or a Inzamam Mulak or a Mark Watt, Damian Martin, David Garr, there are enough and more examples that you can think of. So those players would always give you the impression that they're really, something special. But again, below 15, it's very difficult to segregate that because they're all the same. Because you don't get to know their attitude, you don't get to know their toughness, you don't get to know their willingness to work hard. They're all the same. It's just, it's a fun age. You don't know. It's very, very, very wrong to be judgmental about guys who are just below 15. There's very little to separate them. Yes, by the time somebody's 18, there is this subtle difference between these 5, 6 boys that you see.
One of the best interviews about Lakshman was a conversation with his father that somebody had recorded. And a couple of things stood out for me. Evidently, they are a family of doctors. And Lakshman was in line to go and get a medical degree. At some point, there was this doubt, right? I mean, do I want to take up cricket or do I want to become a doctor? Somewhere somebody told him, there are so many of us doctors. We would love to see one cricketer in the family. And then he never looked back. And the other thing his father said, and this is what I want to ask you as a question, sir, is he said Lakshman would recite verses from Bhagavad Gita to keep the focus between deliveries or just to keep that thing. Now, at what point in coaching do you tell people you have to find your own way to concentrate? When do you insert that? Or do you insert it at all?
See, what is going on in the mind of a player is something only he knows. Nobody can get into it. You can only pick up cues. You can only indulge in conjecture in saying yes. It's like, what an astrologer does. These are the planetary positions. Yes, this is the basic behavior. So when you see a few people doing certain things and then follow up with one particular action, then this is leading to that. But that is not hard and fast rule. It's just by experience you pick up on all these little cues these players give. So nothing is born out of a template. There's no fixed template for anything. Each player is different, and as to what goes on in his or her mind is only known to the player. So that aspect of it can only be worked out by the player, in as much as a coach can help have enormous number of conversations. That's all different. Sorting out what is inside has to be done by the player individually.
So sometimes you see the talent is there, but the player gets out quickly or at a place where he should have not got out. At that point, is the coach, as a coach, do you wait for him to come to ask you for advice, or you tell him, put a hand around his shoulder and say, listen, you feel bad you got out there, right? Do you want to know what you did wrong? How do you, do that management part?
See, if a player is got out and he knows, that is a case of a wrong choice having been made, and it's repeatedly made, then you go and intervene. When you see a guy, getting out, and then he's working hard towards it, and then still these things keep happening, you just let him be, because as it is, he's got something in his mind, he's working it out. So then you wait for him to come. It's a question of timing. And it's also a question of how much you have to say. Sometimes not saying anything at all is good coaching.
I know it's each kid is different, special, and what works for one may not. You said it right. There's no template for these things.
Yeah, narratives are brilliant. Like all of us indulge in, mentioning some anecdotes. Yes, out of which a lot of narratives are spun. That's a different story. But the intent of anybody who's narrate or who's sort of spoken about the anecdotes is not doing to the purpose of creating narratives. Narratives are made by outsiders.
Yes. So now let's last question for the session today. How different is it coaching a boys team versus a women's team? What are the things that are different? What did you find interesting about it?
You better be very measured and very careful in how you express things. That's the basic thing. Secondly, the girls are more coachable. And also, the other thing that you have to be aware of is the fact that as things stand today, between an 18-year-old girl and an 18-year-old boy, the boy is being through many situations on the field by virtue of having played a lot of competitive cricket, whereas the girl does not have that many opportunities. So you cannot take it for granted when you are dealing with a girl who's 18, 20, 22, whatever it is, to have the same kind of maturity when it comes to analyzing the situation and adapting methods to overcome the situation. If that is lacking in a woman cricketer, you have to be patient as a coach, because they don't have the benefit of having gone through the same kind of opportunities that a boy at 22 would have had.
I haven't watched women's cricket in a while, maybe 5-6 years, and I watched it yesterday. I was listening to your comment, by the way, and they have come a long way, Raman. They are doing quite well. Yeah.
Of course, I'll tell you what, they'll still make a lot more strides in the future too. They'll become big. The women in blue will really be the team to watch another 4-5 years. Like how these boys, the Team India boys, when they go abroad, people throng to watch them. That is going to happen when the girls go in the future. There's no doubt about it. Because what they've done from 17 to now is absolutely phenomenal. Yes, despite the fact that the 1.5 years, they had to be really content with doing nothing. That is forced upon them. That momentum was lost. But what is going to happen from now to say, let's say 2027, you mark this down, note this down. Of course, you're recording this, you'll have it on demand. Where they are going to be in 2027, we can't even imagine. That's where they're going to go. Because at the moment, not much of thought is given, or it's not even thought of as a possibility, because people have not really understood as to what it is the girls have done in the last few years, the 4-5 years. The magnitude of their progress, people don't really understand, as much as everybody would like to. But see, in the next 5 years, starting from today, it's going to be a different ball game altogether.
Awesome. And Raman sir, it was wonderful talking to you. And go Team India. A lot of people from US are watching. We have a fair amount of access to all these things these days. So if somebody has the time, they do watch cricket. There's a buzz going on all the time. Hey, did you see this knock or something like that? So all the best, and may women cricket thrive as well as men's cricket does. And thank you once again. It was wonderful talking to you. I hope you didn't feel like my questions were too mundane or pedestrian. And hopefully this is something that kids can learn, parents also can, try and say, oh, okay, these are all the things involved. And some, you may have answered some parents' doubts also in this in the course of this conversation. Thank you very much. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.